Noxus. Circumstance. It was circumstance. Lux always told herself it was circumstance. The weak died, the strong survived. That was the rule of Noxus. So whenever Lux struck down the next foe standing in front of her, she had to remind herself that it was an inevitability of her circumstance. And as the power grew, more and more was slain by her light magic. That was their circumstance of being in front of her. She had no choice, right? Every night, Lux tried to remind herself of that little innocence she once knew. But eventually, every night turned into every other week, then into once in a blue moon, until she stopped. She stopped reminding herself that her actions were caused by her circumstance and began, deep down, to acknowledge that this is who she was now. W becomes blinding light. Lux throws out her wand, illuminated with a bright light, temporarily blinding enemy champions caught in its path. Frejlord, forget. I found a young girl in the middle of a Frejlord storm on my way back from hunting. She was dressed in light blues and white and was definitely not fit for this freezing weather. She said her head was foggy. Who was she? Lux. Her name was Lux, and that was all she could recall. I strapped onto her my jacket and brought her back to the halls before she could freeze from the cold. That was a year ago. She seems to have settled in well, and now works in the hall, serving food and giving shows of light. That must have been something related to her past. I've asked if she ever misses where she came from, and she laughs it off. But I can tell that in her eyes that glaze over, and in her voice that moves just a bit further away, that something is missing. I want to help, but I don't know how. Hour becomes frozen spark. Lux shoots out a beam of freezing light and deals damage and slows enemies caught in it. Ionia, nothingness. The moment Lux found out that she wielded a great magical power, the elders of her village immediately began training her. Rather than stifling her powers, living in fear that they would be found out, she was given the opportunity to shine. Lux seeked nothing but excellence in her craft, and even achieved unimaginable heights. She broke free from the shackles that bound most mages. When the Noxians attacked, Lux made quick work of their first wave, and their second, and their third. Believing in her ability, Lux stood her ground and rallied those around her to fight, but the might of their enemies eventually overpowered them, slaughtering her family, friends, and teachers, burning their home and culture together with it. Lux barely escaped with her life, and nothing more. Now she wanders the lands, seeking revenge, with great ability and carrying a deep sense of nothingness. Passive. If Lux does not move for 3 seconds, she passively increases mana regeneration. Piltover. Expression. Lux was lucky enough to join the academy when she was young, learning about working together with Hextech technology. And when she discovered her magical abilities, she knew she had to combine it together to make something unique, to wield light in ways that no one has ever seen before. Lux began to paint the night sky with light, expressing her creativity to the people of Piltover. She designed her wand and embedded it with a Hextech core to help her channel her magics to write words in the sky and create light shows for those who would come watch. However, she also began to feel Piltover shaking at the seams in the faces of those who gathered to see her. So she would always end her show with a little twirl of her wand and something extra special to maybe brighten up their day. Even then, she began to think, maybe I can do even more for them. Lux's passive becomes Techno Boost. Dealing damage to enemy champions with Lux's abilities decreases all cooldowns on Lux's basic abilities. Shadow Isles. Purgatory. Lux didn't belong here. No one belongs here. For generations, the story is told to stay away from the Shadow Isles. However, the green mist would not stay away. It swallowed Lux whole when she least expected it, clouding her mind and guiding her deeper into its depths. Lux was not corrupted by it. She was strong enough to resist its temptation, but the mist still caved its way into her mind. Many monsters lurked just beyond the shadows, waiting for her to let down her guard for even a second and break her from within. She now wanders the silky shadows in an endless circle, unable to find any meaning, waiting for anyone to save her from its purgatory, or drag her deeper into its depths. Lux's W becomes Soulless Light. Lux throws out her wand, and allied champions caught in it become wraiths, temporarily hiding their identities and gaining bonus movement speed. Bilgewater Lighthouse. The only lighthouse overlooking the seas of Bilgewater burned down 17 years ago, together with its young apprentice and her master. Now whenever a ship approaches the harbor on a moonless night, when the stormy seas turned just a bit too rough, sailors knew to say their goodbyes to living, for they would never see land again. However, for a small lucky few, as they take their final breaths of the salty sea, an unexplainable light may emerge from the rocks where the lighthouse once stood. With it, these lucky bastards will be able to just barely see their path home. It is told for those sailors with good sight and had enough time to distract themselves by seeing into the light, they would see a young girl with staff guiding them to safety. However, it is unknown when she would come or why, so don't take the chance next time to voyage out to sea. Lux's R becomes guiding light. Lux reveals a cone of fairy in front of her. Enemies caught in it are charmed and moved towards Lux.